stand up, Vanguard.
I'll draw for turn. I'll discard to ride the grade 1 Aurora. With its skill, I'll play a plant token. Then pass turn.
I'll draw. I'll discard. In order to ride Rising Star, Vyrgilla. Skill of the grade 0, I draw 1. I'll get an energy generator and I'll go to 3 energy. I'll attack your Vanguard for 8.
No guard.
Drag check. Heal trigger. Power to my Vanguard.
Damage. Critical.
Pass turn.
I'll draw for turn. And then energy 3. So I'm gonna discard Luster Impact Dragon so I can ride Rectina. Then I'll call Broccoli. I'll use the skill of Broccoli since I have a plant token to counterblast and draw 1. Then I'll activate Meteoric Habitat. I'll look at the top 7. I'm gonna grab Rosarium Fairy, and I'll call it here. Let me shuffle, and then I'll use its skill. And then skill of Rosarium Fairy, I'll retire this plant token to bring back 2 plant tokens. And then I'll switch the Rosarium Fairy with the plant token. Also, Broccoli gets 5k since I have a plant token out. So I'll swing with Broccoli. This is going to be 15 to your Vanguard.
No guard. Damage check. Draw trigger. My Vanguard gets an additional 10k power, and I draw 1.
So then I'll swing with Rectina, boosted by the plant token. This is 15 to your Vanguard.
No guard.
Check. No trigger. And then pass turn.
I'll stand and draw and get 3 energy. I use the skill of my Vanguard. When I were to ride, I can Soul Blast 1 instead of discarding to ride into Shooting Star Vyrgilla. I'll play Stardust Blade from my hand. I'll counterblast 1, and then I'll look at the top 5 cards of my deck. I'll call out a grade 2 or less, and then put the rest back and shuffle. Then my Vanguard gets 2 abilities for the rest of the turn. If you are to retire any of my rearguards during my turn, I can call out a normal unit from my deck. Also, my Vanguard will gain an additional 3k power for all my normal units on rearguard circles and in drop. I use the skill of Lefetta that was just placed to Soul Blast 1 since I played an order this turn and she was not played by a unit's ability. I look at the top 5 cards of my deck and I can call out 1 unit or add up to 1 order to my hand. I'll call Static Crack Dragon and put the rest back into my deck and shuffle. Next I'll call Shenri. I'll call Ishonya. The skill of Static Crack Dragon, when a unit is placed in the same column, I can give that unit 5k power. And then finally I'll play a Kyoko. I use the skill of my Vanguard. If I reveal to you that I have Vyrgilla in my ride deck, and I have at least 4 other rearguards, my Vanguard gets an additional critical to the end of turn. I'll attack your Vanguard with mine, boosted with Shinri. Since I played an order this turn, she gets an additional 5k power. And thanks to said order, my Vanguard gets an additional 24k power. So this is going to be a total of 47, 2 damage, 1 drive to your Vanguard.
I'm gonna PG. And I'll discard the grade 1.
Drive check. No trigger. At the end of the battle as Shinri boosts, she can go into Soul, and I draw 1 card. I'll attack with Lefetta boosted by Kyoko for 18 to your Vanguard.
No guard.
Then I'll swing with Lefetta boosted by Static Crack for 23.
No guard.
I'll pass turn.
I'll stand and draw an energy 3. I'll discard to ride. I'll use Rectino's skill to Soul Blast out 1 and bring a grade 1 or less to the field. So I'll call Alvina. So then I'll use Lianorn's skill to counterblast 1, to draw 1, and then I will call Luster Impact Dragon. I'll swap Rosarium Fairy and Luster Impact Dragon. Then I'll swing with Lianorn. I'll use its skill to Soul Blast out 1, discard 1, to boost with my back row, and an additional drive.
No guard.
First check, second check, third check. Critical trigger. Crit, and then the power here.
Damage check, Shenri. Second damage check, Kyoko.
So then I can restand 2 units. The skill of Luster Impact Dragon, when it stood by the ability of my Vanguard and it was 33 or greater, I can Soul Blast out 1 and draw a card. So Luster Impact Dragon, boosting Rosarium Fairy. He gets +5 from his first skill and another +5 from the Soul Blast. So this is 28 to your Vanguard.
I'll guard and intercept for 30.
So Alvina gets +2 if I have 4 more units. And then Broccoli gets another +5 for there being a plant token. And so Broccoli boosted by Alvina is going to be 35 to your Vanguard.
No guard.
Damage check. No trigger.
And pass turn.
I'll stand and draw and go to 9 energy. I'll discard in order to rewrite the star Vyrgilla. The skill of my grade 2 Vanguard. When it is written over, I can search the top 7 for a grade 2 card, but since I wrote Vyrgilla specifically, I can search my entire deck. I will grab a copy of Stardust Blade and then shuffle my deck. I'll then play Stardust Blade from my hand. I'll counterblast 1 in order to look at the top 5 cards of my deck. I'll call out a Lafetta from among them, the rest back, and shuffle. Then my Vanguard will get 2 additional abilities. If you are to retire anything during my turn, I get to call out a unit, and they'll also get 3k power for the rest of the turn for each of my units on Rearguard Circle and in drop that are normal units. I use the skill of Feta. Since she was played not from an ability and I played an order this turn, I can Soul Blast 1 and look at the top 5 cards of my deck and either call 1 unit or an order and add it to my hand. I will call nothing, put the rest back, and shuffle. I'll call another Kyoko from my hand. Then I'll activate the skill of my Vanguard. I'll Energy Blast 3, choose one of my opponent's rear guards. I'll choose your Rosarium Fairy, and I will find it. Then I can call a unit from my drop back to Rearguard Circle. The skill of Blaze Maiden Sonia, if my Vanguard is grade 3 or greater on place, I can Soul Blast 1 and have her gain an additional 10k power to the end of turn. Then the skill of my Static Crack Dragon, since a unit was placed in the same column, she gets an additional 5k power. Then the skill of both of my Kyokas, since my opponent's rearguard was bound during this turn, I choose one of my other units and both Pyokas and the unit I choose get an additional 5k power. So they both get 5k, and in total, my Sonya will get an additional 10k. I'll attack with Sonya to your Vanguard for 35.
I'll guard. This is 28, and I'll intercept with Broccoli. Broccoli gets an additional 5k shield since I have a plant token, so it's 38.
Then I'll attack with my Vanguard. Since I have a total of 12 units in my rearguard circle and in my drop that are normal units, my Vanguard will gain an additional 36k power, for a total of 62 to your Vanguard Twin Drive. Then I can counter blast 1 in order to restand one of my grade 2 units.
I'll guard with the overtrigger, so this is 63. And another 15 for 2 to pass.
First check, Shinri. Second check, Static Crack. Then I'll attack your Vanguard for 23.
No guard. Damage.
Finally, I'll attack your Vanguard with Sonya boosted by Static Crack for 43.
No guard. Damage. Draw trigger. Power. Draw.
I'll pass turn.
I'll stand and draw. Then energy 3. I'll ride Lianorn D-Base and draw 1. I'll call Alvina. I'll use the skill of Alvina to energy blast 3. And I'll bring Mythiarch Habitat back to my hand. I'll play Mythiarch Habitat. I'll look at the top 7. I'll play Rosarian Fairy, and then I'll shuffle. So then I will swing with Alvina and boost with the Alvina. They get +2 since I have 4 units on the field. So this is 20 to your Vanguard.
I'll double intercept for 23.
Then I'll swing with Rosarian Fairy, boosted by Luster Impact Dragon. Luster Impact Dragon gets +5, and then Rosarian Fairy gets to copy the power from Luster Impact Dragon. So this is 15, another 15 for 30, 38 to your Vanguard.
No guard. Damage check, no trigger.
So then I'll swing with Lianorn. The skill of Lianorn, I stand on my unit. And then I will boost with all of them to your Vanguard.
I'll perfect guard, pitching Vyrgilla from my hand.
First check, no trigger. Second check, no trigger. Then, since I boosted with 3 or more units, I'll counterblast to restand 3. The units that got chosen by Lianorn's effect get an additional 5k. And then Lianorn gets -1 drive. So I'll swing with Lianorn again. This is going to be 18 to your Vanguard, 1 drive.
I'll guard for 33.
Check. Critical trigger. It doesn't pass, but I'll give the power to Luster Impact Dragon. And then the critical to Rosarian Fairy. So then I'll swing. Rosarian Fairy will copy Luster Impact's Dragon, so this is going to be 30, another 30 for 60, 68, 73 to your Vanguard and a crit.
No guard. First check, heal trigger. I do heal 1 damage. My Vanguard gets an additional 10k power. Second check, over trigger. I remove this card from the game, draw 1 card, and my Vanguard gets an additional 100 million power.
Pass turn.
I'll stand and draw and go to 3 energy. I'll Personarize Rilla and draw 1, and my front row gets 10k power. I'll Energy Blast 3 to bind your Rosarium Fairy. Then I'll choose from my drop a unit. I'll choose Sonia and call her. I use the skill Sonia, I'll Soul Blast 1 since she was placed, and I have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard. She gets an additional 10k power. Then Static Crack gives her an additional 5k power since she was placed in this same column. Then both my Kyos give themselves 5k power, and they'll give Sonia an additional 10k combined. I'll call Lafetta from my hand. Then I'll go to battle. I'll attack your Vanguard for 45.
I'll guard with Brave Shooter. I'll Energy Blast 3 to draw 1. And so that's 43, 48.
I'll attack with my Vanguard. I use the skill when my Vanguard attacks. I can counterblast 1 to restand a grade 2 unit. Then I'll be attacking your Vanguard for 36 Twin Drive.
I'll guard with another Brave Shooter, Energy Blast 3, draw 1, and I'll use a PG.
First check, Rocco Force. Second check, draw trigger. I'll draw 1 and give 10k power to my rearguard. I'll attack your Vanguard with Lafetta boosted by Pure for a total of 43.
No guard. Damage. Critical trigger.